Hello and welcome into another edition of JayMac Hacks. Today answering a question from you. How in the world do you stay up on all of your news sources and all of your reading materials? It seems like you know everything that's going on. Well, trust me, it takes a lot of work, but I do have some tools that I use, and I've refined this system over the years, and I'm always fine-tuning and finding new ways to do that. But so today I wanted to show you one tool that I use to read all of my news sources and to categorize those news sources and to sort them or whatever so that I can use them later on. Now, it is a paid resource. They do have a free version. I use the paid version, but it's called Feedly. And I've been using it for many years now, and to date, it's the best tool that I've found. If you have other tools that you'd like to suggest, please put them in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe, because I'm going to share with you all of the tools that I use to produce a daily podcast, to make all these training videos, and every other aspect of my life. So lots more good stuff coming up. But for now, let's dive into Feedly. Okay, so what you're looking at here is my Feedly homepage. This is what comes up when I view Feedly in a web browser. Now, they also have an app that you can use for iOS and Android. I use that when I'm out on the go, and they also have a standalone app that you can use on your desktop. I like to use it in browser because then it's just one of my browser tabs, but the functionality is the same either way. So what I want to do is show you how I use it first, and then we can dive into some of the specifics of how I got this all to work. Does that make sense? This way you can know if you want to use it. So what I do is I go in here and you can see it says all personal feeds. I can access that over here with all. So if I click on all, it's going to refresh, and these are all my personal feeds. You can see up here on the top right, I have 64 unread feeds. Now, when I started out the day, it was closer to 400. Now, I don't expect you to have that number of feeds or that many stories, but because I am watching COVID and I'm watching election fraud and I'm watching politics, I'm watching Utah issues, because I have so many things that I'm watching, not to mention the personal things that I watch, the tech issues, things like that, I'm going to probably have a lot more feeds than you do. And some of them are tech related, as I said. Some of them, like this is TMZ at the top. I don't care about Paris Hilton. I don't know if you do. I don't. So I'm going to use the J key on my keyboard, and that's going to take me to the next story. So there's the Paris Hilton story. I hit J. Now I have another TMZ story, a Jon Stewart story. I don't care about that. Man, I'm getting a lot of TMZ stories, but let's get through those. Okay, here's a Verge story talking about Snapchat. Microsoft. This is about the California shakeout drill. This is a story about LAPD office accused of fondling a dead woman's breast, ordered to stand trial. Okay. All right, so you can just see I will use the J key here, and I will just go from one story to the next. And I'm reading headlines, and there's a summary or the entire story included here. So again, let's just continue to go through this. Washington TV weather report accidentally showed porn in the forecast. All right, okay. So this is what I do. I am going through each story. And now let's say I land on a story that I want to save for later. Now, I have several ways to do that. If you look up here on the top left, I can star it, and that will save it to a board that I have created. I can tell Feedly that I don't really like this story very much, so don't show me things like this. Or I can save it into Evernote. It has an Evernote integration. I can copy the link to the clipboard. I can email it. I can tweet it. Or I can send it to other services. But again, I like to keep everything in-house. I don't want to go from one app to the next to the next. I'm trying to avoid all that friction in my life. So what I've done is I've created several boards, and you'll see those when I click on the star button. You can see that I have several stars or boards that I have created. So I've got one to track Congress and the things going on in Congress, because I'm always looking at Congress. JayMac Hold. These are things that I want to read later on, but I'm not ready to read them now. JayMac Show Links. This is where I'm storing any links that I've talked about on the show. And this board I've actually set to public. So you'll notice in all of the descriptions for my podcast, I have a link to all the stories that I've talked about. That is created here in Feedly every time I click on the JayMac Show Links. Then I have a live option. So this is something I want to do on my live podcast. JayMac Snacks. These are quick hits that I might do on TikTok or might do pre-recorded for my website or my blog. Social. These are things that I want to send out to Twitter or to Facebook. And then Utah are things that just relate to Utah, because I do a separate podcast for Utah called Informed Utah. So I can just flag it right here. So let's say I want this to be JayMac Live, and that's it. Now I've flagged it, and now I can just move on to the next story. So I'll just move from one to the next. So I find this story to be interesting, and I might want to talk about it on my show. So it says, Texas Lieutenant Governor's $1 million bounty pays off by catching a Republican who voted twice. All right, so I'm going to save this for my live show. I'm going to click Save to Board, and I'll click Live. All right, now I know it's categorized away, and I don't have to worry about it. Then when I have a moment, either when I'm getting ready to do a show or trying to decide how to, batch things out for my day, I go over here to the left, and you can see right here, I have boards. And here's all the boards that I showed you that were available when I clicked on that star button. So let's click on Live. So you can see right away, here's the first story that I chose. Tesla offers glimpse of future without Elon Musk. And then here's the second story that I start. Texas Lieutenant Governor's $1 million bounty pays off by catching a Republican who voted twice. If I click on the story, it brings up the summary of the story. And again, sometimes it depends on the link. It will bring in the whole story. And the same with the Elon Musk story. So you can see here, it's in Feedly. And in this case, it grabbed the whole story. And so I don't have to worry about going out to the link and grabbing it. The other thing nice is there's some options here in Feedly. So it's already highlighted what it thinks is the most important part of the story, but I can also highlight. So if I just click and I grab some text here and I'll scroll down, you can see I've got highlight, mute the phrase, prioritize the phrase, search Feedly. I can highlight and tweet. I can post to WordPress, clip to Evernote, save to OneNote, or Google Search. In this case, I'm just going to highlight. So now I've been reading it and I've highlighted it, and so fantastic. And then the other thing I can do is while I'm in the story or right here, I can change the board that it's on. So I can say this was a live, but you know what? I want to send that out as social as well. So I'll click the social tag. And you know what? This applies to my research on Congress, so I want to put that in there too. So you can see I can have it flagged for different things. And once I've looked at it in Congress and I'm like, no, it doesn't really apply there, I'm going to deselect it, right? And so this is how you apply it to different boards. So you can see it's really simple and easy to categorize your information and save it for later. And then you also have an option here to remove it, to mark it as unread, to tell Feedly that you want fewer stories like this, or to flag it for read for later, which is a separate option in Feedly. You can just set something to read for later and go to the read for later folder, all right? So that's the basics of Feedly, and I hope you can see that I can cruise through hundreds of stories and never have to leave this app. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. I don't want to go to CNN and then go to Fox and then go to the local ABC channel and then go to the Washington Times. And then I don't want to have to go to all of those different websites. Feedly helps me bring it all into one source. So that's kind of an overview of how I use it every day. Now let's talk a little bit about how I've set it up. So if we go over here to the left, and you can see right here I have feeds. And if I click on the settings, you will see all of the feeds that I have being brought in currently. All right. Now, it also tells me how many stories a month that are bringing in and how many I've read every single month. That's interesting. And you can see here I can turn the sources on or off. I can rename them. I can organize them. I can unfollow them. All of those abilities are here just by clicking on the checkbox. And then I can rename, reorganize, unfollow, right? So these are my existing feeds. Now, when you first start up, you're not going to have any of these sources in there that I have. So you're going to want to set that up. And the way you do that is you go all the way to the left and you click on the plus. And now it's going to do a couple of things here. It's going to offer you up any sources that send out a feed that will work in Feedly. And so if you scroll down, you can choose industries. You can select the industries that you like. You can also look at their featured. So if I click on tech, and I can see here's the featured, and it's as simple as when you see one that you like, you can just click on follow. It also lets you add it to whatever feed you have set up. So over here on the left, you see I have an all, I have a favorites, I have a news feed. These all have different meanings to me. You can create new feeds by clicking on the create new feed option there. So typically I'll click follow and then I'll go into news feed. All right. So now Engadget has been added to my news feed. And I can just keep scrolling down here and I can choose all the ones that I want for tech. And then you can hit back and you can do the same thing. And then you can search to see if there are any news services that you want to add that aren't in their list already. So I can search for Utah News, for example. And now you can see Deseret News comes up. Utah Jazz News comes up. Different news stations, Utah Business come up. If you want to search for an individual station or service, if I type in KSL, you can see there's the source right there. And now here's everything that KSL is offering. So if you want to follow KSL News, and look, other local TV stations are coming up as well. So you can see how you can quickly put together a list of services that you want. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can add web alerts and you can add Twitter feeds. They just recently added that, and Reddit feeds. Those options are all up here. So for example, if you click on Twitter feeds, then all you have to do is search for the username of the Twitter feed that you want. So let's search for mine. So I'm searching for @JMcFarland, and I'm not following myself, but there you go. I've got two options. So I can click and follow the JayMac news feed, and those will appear as well. So this is where you create your feed list, and all of the services that I've ever wanted are available in this Feedly list. So you customize it for you, and then you're only seeing those sources that you want. So what I do is 2-3 times a day, I get up and I go through my news feed, and I want it to be at 0 unread articles by the end of the day. Now, a couple of other things that Feedly has added recently is this service called Leo. Now, I'll go back to my news feed, and you see up here it says Train Leo. I'll click on that, and I can prioritize by topics, business events, by industries, and there's a lot of different options with Leo, and Leo can be out searching for stories that you want. But one of my biggest benefits from Feedly is that it now has the ability to eliminate multiple headlines. This was one of the biggest issues for me, especially when I was on the air, was that I would see the same story listed in my news feed 10 times. And I don't need to see 10 different stories. I need to see if there are more stories on that, but just show me the main headline. And I'll give you an example of how it does this. I'll see if I can find one. So I'll go back into all, and I'm just going to scroll down here and see if I can find a story that gives this example. Okay, so here's an example of what I'm talking about. Normally, this headline, regulator orders Apple and Google to hand over App Store payment system data. If this headline is being shown, or a headline similar to this, in a bunch of different news sources that I'm following, then they're all going to end up being shown over and over again. And this can double or triple the size of your feed. Well, now Feedly is recognizing these different headlines for me, and it's saying, I think those all go together. So here's, again, the headline. And if you scroll down through the story, you will see that it has found 2 other articles that relate to what I'm talking about. And so, again, regulators demand more info about tech, and Apple faces inquiry. So Feedly has identified that these 3 stories are probably alike. It gave me one of the headline stories, and it gave me the other stories down below, but not as a separate feed or headline, so that I don't have to keep scrolling through the same headline over and over again. So here's another example. House votes to hold Steve Bannon in criminal contempt. You scroll down and you can see that there is another related story. Now, I didn't have to look at this headline twice and go, no, I don't want that. Feedly did the work for me. I love it. This has reduced the size of my feed by probably 2/3 now that I'm not seeing these duplicate headlines. And again, the purpose of this video is not to show you every function of Feedly, but I will show you where to go to get rid of the duplicated articles. So you click down here in the bottom left, and you click on the little profile, and you click on settings, and then you go into Leo. Leo is the service that is helping customize your feed. And right down here, you see deduplication of identical articles. Should Leo remove near exact duplicate articles from your feeds? And I say yes. And then also here, clustering of related articles. Should Leo group articles related to the same story? And I say yes. So this really helps me out in saving all of my information. My intent with all of these videos is just to show you how I use them, to maybe spur some thought into how you can use them, and maybe we can improve each other's lives a little bit better along the way. But this is the answer to the question, JayMac, how do you keep track of all of that information? Okay, now I'll also show you how the app works. So this is what it looks like when it comes up. And you can see I've got it selected on all. So these are all of my different feeds that I haven't read yet. If I click back on the bottom left, you'll see this looks like the left-hand bar of the website that I was showing you. So I can choose all, I can choose my different boards there. So it just mirrors what would normally be on the left side of your screen. So I'm going to click on all, and this is one of my favorite parts. So I'm just going to select the top story, and you can see there is the story with the text. And if I like the story, then I'm going to click on the star, and here's where I assign it to my different boards. If I don't like the story, then I'm going to just swipe left. And if I don't like that story, or I'm not interested, I swipe left. And then swipe left and swipe left. And so you can sit here with one finger and just swipe one story after the other, after the other. And that is how easy it is to use Feedly on a mobile app. It works the same for iPhone and for iPad. I haven't used the Android version, but I'm assuming that it works the same way. So anytime I'm in line somewhere, anytime I'm just sitting, not doing anything, I can get out my phone and I can just go from one story to the next and to the next. So using the app is literally that easy. And the functionality really is the same as what I showed you. So if I click back here on the arrow, and then I go back down to the bottom left, and I scroll up, you can see all of my ability to choose the themes or to change the settings. Everything is right there, just the same as it would be in the web app that you saw on the left side of the screen. So it's really that easy. And again, one of my favorite parts is when I'm out and about, just use my thumb and just swipe left and swipe left and swipe left. And before I know it, my newsfeed is down to 0. And I know that I've shared all of the information to a safe place. And I don't have to worry about losing it. And it just works brilliantly. Now, I'll just show you here quickly what their pricing structure is. I said they had a free option. It doesn't look like they have that anymore. So you're looking at $6 a month. That gives you 1,000 sources, notes and highlights, power search. That allows you to save to Evernote, Pocket, and OneNote. Get news articles up to 10 times faster. That's the other thing I'm noticing is that a lot of times these feeds come in before they're even posted to the website often. So it really helps me stay in the know and also stay ahead of the curve. Then they have the Pro. I have the Pro. You can increase the number of services. That's when Leo will be available to you, and you can get web alerts, Twitter feeds, newsletters, Google News feeds. All of those things are available in Pro. So I wanted to let you know what the pricing is. If you're not somebody who does a lot of news feed searching, or you're not collecting a lot of information, then maybe Feedly isn't for you. But for me, that $12 a month, I would pay double that for this service that Feedly offers. And I want to remind you, I'm not sponsored by Feedly. I've never had any interaction with Feedly. I just am such a huge fan of this service. I've tried so many other options, Evernote combined with Feedly and with other services. You can certainly do those integrations, or with Pocket or Instapaper. I've tried so many. This one just speaks to me because it's all in one place. And if you're getting to know me at all from these videos, you know that I hate friction. I want the easiest, simplest way to do something, as few clicks as possible. Let me sort things around. So I hope this has been helpful. Please put any question in the comments. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. I've got lots more great content coming. If there's any tech or any questions about anything that I'm doing that you'd like me to answer, also put those in the comments so that I can make more videos that are catered to you. With that, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Jay McFarland, and this is another edition of JayMac Hacks.